Everybody in the gallery, and welcome to everybody. Please roll call us.
Mayor Louis Trujillo. Councilor David Romero. Councilor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Councilor Montoya. Councilor David Ulivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
For the record, Councilman Montoya is excused for the evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to just say happy birthday to Barbara. Today is her birthday, so many healthy more. And special prayer for Congress and our senators and our representatives that they passed the bill to bring us an early Christmas present on Friday for $141 million for our water projects. So we're crossed our fingers, and also for ask for guidance that we continue to make decisions that are based on the needs of our people. Amen. Thank you. Do you want me to sing happy birthday or tap dance?
Las mañanitas.
Where's the mariachi?
That I know. I'm unprepared. Approval of the agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey to approve the agenda. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by
Mr. Romero, roll call, please.
Councilor Ulivari.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have public input. We have no public input for this evening. I do have some comments from Councilor Montoya that will be read into the record during the item of the Samaritan House contract.
very well. Thank you.
Moving on to mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations. We have 3 appointments listed on the agenda tonight. The first one is appointment of Ms. Monica Vigil to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Romero?
the question that I had on these, and I know we've asked in the past, just because according to the charter, there's supposed to be one from every ward. And we've asked, and I know Loretta knows that, but these don't have any wards on what wards these individuals are from?
I'm wondering if we could approve the people that are listed here and then give instruction to Loretta to make sure that every ward is represented, and if they need to bring forth more members to do so.
Okay, so with that, if we have too many in one ward and not one ward represented, then would we remove them, or what's the?
I don't know. I guess they're an advisory board, so I'm not sure.
With that, Mayor, I'll go ahead and just make the motion and just, let's hope that every word's, if we can get a report on that and make sure that they are. If not, we need to fill that in. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the appointments.
All three of them?
Yes, sir.
Very well.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion by Mr. Romero, a second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
Councilor Ulivari.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Ulivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries for all 3.
Mr. Maestas, if you could give a direction to Loretta tomorrow to name everyone on the advisory board and which wards they live in, and to assure that every ward is represented equally.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on
Congratulations.
to councilors' reports.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Casey?
I have received, as you know, from from previous meetings, several phone calls about concerns for the ambulance service that doesn't provide some services that people need. And before, Fire Chief Span had met with with the ambulance folks to get things settled about a terrible overcharge. I don't know why my microphone doesn't stay on. And so I again had another series of phone calls last week. And I just want to thank Chief Span for taking on the responsibility of some of the duties of the ambulance service, which they are not quite providing to some of our citizens, and have actually taken one particular person to where she needed to be to get medical assistance. So I want to thank him for doing that. I want to thank him for his patience in dealing with situations that are difficult, and also for the good training that all of the firemen have at the fire department that can deal with certain individuals that need special types of assistance that the ambulance service should be providing, but don't do it unless they can charge huge amounts of money. And so I think that that is a wonderful service and a good humanitarian way to treat our citizens with dignity and respect. And I want to thank Chief Span and the fire department for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And just for the record, I know that the contract is being negotiated and you're addressing some of the issues in that contract.
Good.
Thank you. Councilman?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Maestas, I know I've had plenty of conversations with you pertaining to El Creston Park. I've been getting lots of calls and concerns with the constituents very upset as to all the work that's being done at other parks. I just want to note, 2019, we were appropriated $70,000 until that date. We've spent some money, but the work at the park has not been done. And I know we've had these conversations, and I hate to say this, but it sounds like I'm a broken record to my constituents. It's going to get done. It's going to get done. I know the mayor has received calls. I think every single one of us has received calls, and I apologize to my colleagues because even they shouldn't be taking these calls. And it's very upsetting when there's other parks that are getting worked on when we have, since 2019, have had the appropriations for this, and it's not completed. And yes, there's new equipment, and I'd just like to see if you could maybe send a letter to the constituents in that area and let them know what's going on, because I'm tired of sounding like a broken record, and it's unfair to me and also to my constituents to hear the same thing over and over. It's going to get done, and meanwhile, the parks in other areas are getting, they got funding this current year, and things are being built there, and I'd like to see if you could address that and address it to them, and not just to one, because there's plenty of them, and that's all I could say. 2019, we have to have that money spent by June of this year. We also have a 100,000 junior bill appropriation that has to be done by June, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. And Mr. Maestas, if you could please, I'm asking you here publicly to get that done this year.
Yes, Counselor. There was obviously scheduling. There's a bunch of park projects that we're working on. Hanna Park was scheduled ahead of the gazebo structure at Creston Park, and fortunately with our weather permitting, it's hard to install concrete in the temperatures. But we will send a letter to the neighborhood, letting them know what the schedule is. We've received the final quote for the gazebo structure there. As you mentioned, we did install playground equipment, curbing, and the drop material in that parking lot, in that park. We also have a quote for the fencing that overlooks the cliffside on the east side of the property. But we will address that.
And I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I mean, these people know that the money has been there 3 years, and it's unfair to them to not see, yes, they got the equipment and there was some progress and everything died. And I think the last time, our previous director, had said, a certain time would come and things would go up, and that didn't happen. And I just, bringing it to the forefront, I know, I brought it, behind the scenes, and I think it's only fair and fitting that they know that publicly that I am asking these questions. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Maestas, is there something that's attributing to the delay besides finding a contractor or?
No, sir. So when we ordered the gazebo structures, they were 8 months out. We received both of them at the same time. The PO was already created for Hannah Park installation, so that isn't currently being installed at Hannah Park. The PO was never created by the previous Parks Director for Crestone Park, so we're in the process of doing that. Again, we're against the weather at this point, so they're doing as much as they can when they have good weather, so.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Mayor, I understand the things, the money was there, and, this other park was addressed prior to this, to the one that was funded already, so I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ulibarri?
yes, I just want to thank my staff, all my directors, our city manager, and wish them a happy New Year, happy Christmas, happy New Year to all of you guys. Thank you for all the work you guys do for us. And we're working hard to complete our projects little by little. We've had little problems. We changed a lot of, some of our directors left and this and that, but thank you guys for doing all that work for the city.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ulibarri. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, we have city manager's report. We have Mr. Maestas.
Welcome, Mr. Maestas. We've missed you. Welcome back.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. So I'd like to first start with greeting our new employees of the City of Las Vegas, welcoming them to the City of Las Vegas family. We have quite a bit of employees at the PD that are listed here in front of you. Let me go to here, clerks. So beginning with Miss Regina Crystal Rose Armijo, she's in the court clerk. Miss Leona Romero, customer service rep. Samara Rivera, driver helper with our senior center. Kenneth Maestas, police officer. Miss Kendra Martinez, community specialist, communication specialist, I apologize. Steven Encinas, animal control officer. Dominic Graston, community service aide, and Santana Baca as police officers. We welcome them to the City of Las Vegas.
Thank you.
Moving on, I'd like to go over all the projects that Mr. Archuleta has been assisting the city with, applying for grants. A lot of counselors come to us and say, "Can you apply for this grant? Can you apply for that grant?" We get numerous emails daily of all these different grant applications or openings. We'd like to announce that we were awarded those top 4 grants, which is the outdoor equity grant, which would fund a park trail around Rodriguez Park, is what we funded that one, or what we applied for on that one, in the amount of $132,000, which includes a city match as well. We do have the Rodriguez Park construction that is currently taking place. Moving on to the $59,000 from the Department of Cultural Affairs, which was awarded to us for the repairs on the first floor at the old City Hall building. Also was granted was construction drawings and construction-ready documents for City Hall as well. That was awarded to us just yesterday, I believe. The next one is a grant for $99,000 for Padilla Park for planning and design for additional amenities at that park. We also have other ones that are pending. New Mexico Energy Minerals for $250,000 for Rodriguez Park for the retrofitting of the lights. The current budget that we had didn't include the light fixtures because it's a pretty substantial amount that we had to put towards that. The DOT grant for electric charging stations throughout the city, that is also pending. Mr. Archuleta is also working with New Mexico Environmental Department and the EPA. There was an application that was submitted to do an assessment on the old City Hall building for mold and asbestos remediation. So they did come in 2 weeks ago and they did an assessment, so they'll be sending us a report on that. And then working on a U.S. Fish and Wildlife grant, which would fund the rewinding of the river as well. That's a smaller grant, but that's what it's designed for. Also to mention, having to do with funding, as Mayor mentioned, the omnibus bill is going through the Congress right now. They should be voting on it on Friday. Embedded in that bill is $1.45 billion, which would add to the current $2.5 billion for the Hermits Peak Calf Canyon Bill Act that was passed a couple months ago. Also embedded in there, like Mayor mentioned, is $141,000 for city water treatment facilities, not just the treatment plant. So anything that would be encompassed, including reuse. So we are all have our fingers crossed that that bill will pass on Friday.
It's million, you said thousand.
141 million, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Just so that people out there know exactly.
Yes, it's, that is actually right around the amount that we've submitted to FEMA in projects, which include debris removal, sediment removal throughout the rivers, any damages that were incurred during the fire, payroll, overtime that was used, manpower that was used during the fire. So our fingers crossed that that does pass on Friday. Moving on to a little lighter note, some of the data that we collected for our holiday events. We had 25 runners for our turkey trot that took place on Thanksgiving. We also gave out 500 gifts to children from around the region, around the area, for Santa in the Park, which took place the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We also had the tree lighting event where Councilor Casey gave a beautiful speech and also a beautiful Rudolph song that she sang in Spanish. Councilor Romero was also in attendance and hosted the event. Moving on to, we had over 40 entries at the Electric Light Parade. There's some images there from those events. I did want to also thank my brother that did the Grinch. He dressed up as the Grinch, and we got a lot of positive feedback that they really enjoyed that.
A lot of people are asking for a repeat, so get ready for next year, Flaco.
So yes, he is an aspiring actor, comedian that lives in LA. So he was here for the holidays, so he agreed to do that for us pro bono. I do have a quick little video I was hoping I could share with everybody of kind of the start to finish of that day.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Hello, little children. Gaze into the face of fear. What do you want for Christmas, Henry?
I don't know.
You don't know? You hesitated there. I'm going to guess complete silence. At least that's what Daddy wished for. Grace. Oh, that's a beautiful name. May grace shine upon me. What's up, sweetheart? Listen, if you're going to take a picture, I got 3 poses. Ready? Ooh. Ah. Mm. That's it. I'm not posing. Hey! 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 I have moves, what can I tell you? Just like Jagger. We have a synchronized dance, look. Gonna back it up. I gotta back it up. Guess who's back? Back again. The Grinch is back. Tell no one. Say onions. Onions. Yeah, baby. Well, there you have it, folks. We kissed some hands, shook some babies. You know, the usual.
You're a rotter, Mr. Grinch.
So again, we just want to thank Brother Jose Maestas for helping us out with our holiday festivities. A lot of children and families like that event. So.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maestas. Appreciate that.
And I also, before I move on to this last one, I had some other things that came to mind that I didn't include in my slideshow there. But we have installed a couple electric digital speed signs. There's one on Williams Drive. We had a lot of speeders on Williams Drive. On our portion of Williams Drive, there's a portion that's county, so we installed that. We have another one that we're determining where's a good location. We'll work with PD that a hotspot. And also, we are in the process of procuring a security surveillance camera. As everybody knows, our Lincoln Park has been closed off for numerous months, and we want to get that back open to the community now that we have new playground equipment in there. And so this new piece of equipment will be trailered. We can also use it for other events. It has a 360 high-powered camera that continue monitoring in the cloud. We can monitor from anywhere. It also has a secondary camera that monitors the trailer itself for anybody that could possibly damage it. And lastly, all the ICIP projects that were brought forth by all the counselors, Mr. Archuleta has populated them in the ICIP portal at the state's level, so they are in the system. I believe that's it. Outside of just a happy holidays to all our constituents and our families, that we have a safe holiday. We have some cold weather coming in, so hopefully everybody stays safe. Lastly, we are in the process, our Public Works Department and Recreation Department are in the process of finishing the setup of our ice skating rink. That's what it looked like yesterday. There's a lot of other things that went into it, so we're hoping, and we did not rent, we purchased a tent, so we'll have that tent for other festivities, other events that we want to set it up for the future. It'll be $5 a session. It'll begin next Thursday. So with that, Mayor and Council, I stand for any questions.
I just want to thank you, Leo, for all your hard work, and I just want to show my appreciation to you, and happy holidays to you and your family as well. Thank you.
Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, we have our police chief's report. We have our police chief, Antonio Salazar.
Here's the police department monthly report for November. We had, for our field operations division, which was patrol, we had 50 arrests that were made. If you take a look at the bottom, we had 169 traffic citations for our patrol division. And we also, from this also includes our community service aid. We had 25 parking citations that were issued. Community events that we participated in, obviously we had the Battle of the Badges, and we assisted with the Santa Fe Park, or sorry, the Santa in the Park tree lighting and the electric light parade. Also on Battle of the Badges, I got a little bit of grief from fire because I used this platform to say that we were going to beat fire, and in my arrogance, I apologize. We didn't beat fire that day. So I told them that next time we talked about it, I was going to let them know that I apologize. But we're going to reschedule it, and they said they want a rematch.
Like eating a little humble pie.
Yeah.
And that's what you get for bragging.
Yeah, I know. Our code compliance and code enforcement, we had 51 calls for service, 55 citations were issued, and we are currently working on cease and desist orders for this month. Animal control calls, so kind of important thing to look at. We had 31 animal intakes. That's from cats and dogs, and we have a felony level animal cruelty case pending. Here is our stats for the animal care center. Our occupancy for cats are 24 and 81 dogs, and we've had a total of 4 cats intaked and 36 dogs that were intaked from the month of November. We had from our dispatch, we had 1,146 calls for service, 132 fire calls, and 183 AMR calls. I always want to kind of let everybody know too on where it says total calls of 911, and we had 549, and only 509 of those were answered. But I want to remind everybody that we do go out to those calls. Officers go out to that area, knock on doors, just to ensure that no one is in need of any police assistance. But we do our due diligence whenever those calls are dropped or not answered. Our information records division, we entered 136 reports into the system. 27 traffic accidents reports were entered, 218 citations were entered, and 163 customers were attended to. For our evidence and investigations and street crimes division, we've been pretty consistent throughout every month with at least 2 search warrants a month. This includes vehicle search warrants and home search warrants. And out of those search warrants, we've seized several items, multiple items, whether they be drugs or whether they be items that were involved in any type of crime. I want to touch on the one on the bottom, the leads meeting. We're continuing to work with leads on referrals, how we can get officers trained to submit referrals for those people who qualify and might be a potential candidate for the LEADS program. So we're continuing to work for that.
Can you clarify or distinguish the acronym, please?
LOM. It's a diversion program. I'm not very familiar. I forgot the acronym, but it's for a diversion program that will keep certain individuals who qualify for this program out of jail, and they will receive other needs, whether it be rehab, whether it be mental health services, services on trying to get back into work. So those are the type of services that they offer. And like I said, we're working with the LEADS director on getting officers accustomed to sending individuals who qualify for this program into this program. Just want to go over a few of these items, some of the important ones. One firearm was seized off of patrol, or off the streets from patrol. And if you look down at the bottom, 163 pills of fentanyl was seized from both the agents and police officers. Some of the training that we attended, investigations took a training how to prosecute homicides. The academy graduation, we had a cadet graduate from the academy. We are continuing to manage our field operation, or FTO program. We're trying to implement new tactics and new training elements to this program. This program consists of officers come into the police department, and they are placed with an officer who is certified in training officers coming into the police department. We held a recruit in-service training. They just finished. They are now starting their FTO program this weekend. We certified all commissioned personnel in the biennium handguns. Like the city manager said, we had a few hires. This included one certified officer hired, one non-certified, one animal control officer, one communication specialist, and we also are looking at a records person for this month. These are our current vacancies for the police department. And then with that, I stand for any questions if anybody has any.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Giovanni?
On the traffic citations, how many speeding citations have you give out or the department give out? The reason is because, we still have problems all over the city on people speeding all over town, So I was kind of concerned about that because I do see a lot of speeders around when I'm around town. But I know, I said it's 169 traffic citations. I would kind of maybe on the next reports, I would like to see how many citations you give out on speeding.
Yes, sir. We can narrow that down from each citation and bunch them up in groups on what the traffic citations were actually for, and I can bring that forward on the next meeting.
And Chief, on the speed traps, when we start using it, getting people, if they're speeding, when are you going to start getting citations out?
And my apologies, I was going to bring that up for my report. Our plan was for the 9th of this month, but we ran into a little bit of issues just with on getting the citations to the courts. We want to set it up. Hopefully our next plan is to try to set them to go live before New Year's. We just want to make sure that everything's in place before. We don't want any hiccups. We don't want any issues in court whenever we do start submitting those citations. So that way the officers and the public can be prepared for citations to come off of those speed trailers.
Thank you, Chief.
I have a quick question, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. Chief, now that Councilor Ulibarri mentioned the speed monitoring, whatever they're called, there's one on Mills Avenue. And as I was driving down Mills, it registered my speed as 23 miles an hour, but I was doing 36. And so how are those calibrated, and are they checked for accuracy, or and there was nobody else on the road except me, so they couldn't have been picking up somebody else that was behind me or in front of me.
Yes, those are calibrated every I can't remember the time frame, but those are calibrated. And those are some of the issues that we're having. We just want to make sure they're accurate before we start issuing citations. So it's not a big issue with the machines or anything like that. It's just we need just to make sure it's all computer based. That's what it is. We just want to make sure that we get everything squared away before we actually start giving citations. And again, so we don't run into court issues or anybody claiming like that. We don't want to have any of those issues whenever the officer has to appear in court.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And again, my recommendation is to move that along as soon as we can. We've had them for quite some time, and we need to make some money. We need to slow people down. So that's what they were purchased for. So the sooner the better. If we could get that system up by January, that would be great.
Yes, sir. That's our intentions on getting them up before New Year's.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Mayor, next on the agenda is our finance report. We have Mr. Dominic Chavez.
Welcome, Dominic.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Let me just get the agenda for you. Tonight I'm here to present the revenue and expense report for November 30th, 2022. On our general fund, our revenues have come in at $5,390,945, with expenditures of $5,117,795 for a surplus of $273,151. Our enterprise funds, our revenues are in at $6,410,785, with our expenditures at $6,176,879 for a surplus of $233,906. Our rec center revenues in at $220,463, with expenditures of $173,101 for a surplus of $47,362. And I always like to mention that there is a general fund transfer from general fund into the rec center as a surplus to the revenue. Our largest tax revenues are in at $352,268. Expenditures at $201,022 for a surplus of $151,246. With that, I'll open for any questions.
Dominic, is there anything in this report that you need to make us aware about or that you're worried about?
No, sir.
Very well. Thank you for all your work, Dominic. I really appreciate it. I know the audit took a lot out of you and stuff, so, but we really appreciate your hard work and your dedication and your staff.
Yes, sir. You're very welcome, and I'd like to take this time as well. And just so you're aware, the audit was submitted to the state auditor's office on time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's standing.
Good.
May I leave my laptop up here since I present again shortly?
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next on the agenda is presentations not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes. Presentation by Chad Brown, and he's an area artist who would like to create a phoenix to commemorate the wildfire.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. Councilpersons, Mayor.
Hi.
Since somebody have a computer that links to that might want to scroll along so that the people in the room can see. Is that something that's normally done or could be done?
Do you have it on the USB or how do you have it?
I would ask to put it on the website and then you can go from there.
Sure, I can load it on mine.
It's pretty easy. That's the website, chadbrownwater.com. Okay. In the meantime, I made some prints. I had some issues with it today. Walgreens, okay. Walgreens let me down. So home printer. I think press those two. I was going to give this one to you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Just click this to open it up, okay? Louis, since
Okay.
you've seen it before. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Did you want to, is there a certain page that we should be going to?
Yeah, just go to the top. There. They have the same printouts as that. Thank you. So I have one of these to follow along with you guys as much as possible. For Louis, the scroll, you can follow, and the same thing for the computer. So ultimately, my name's Chad Brown. Hi, everybody. I'm going to tell you my story is from Las Vegas, Nevada. I got my master's degree in art there, and I had shown extensively and had some, a lot of success there in that area. I traveled to Denver, and I had a bad back injury, and life got difficult. You guys know that Denver's gone up in its scale of living, and I had to find another place. I'm going to say in this moment that, one of those things I engaged at the time was learning to walk the red road, if you guys know that. I had traveled up to South Dakota and learned to make my spiritual practice that of Lakota. I am a sun dancer and a walker of the red road. I also have Native heritage that guides me in that way. What is important to locate in that conversation mostly is what brought me here, is listening in prayer, listening and guiding that way. As it goes in life, you never know what will present itself in your turns, and coming here was more a matter of listening to things that pointed to this place as something I should pay attention to. So the further I got here, the more I paid attention. Coming here, signs have also come to say, I belong here. And so in being here the last couple of years, the COVID was a rather dramatic experience, of course, for all of us. Arriving in a new town with new people with masks on, right? Ultimately, I got focused on kind of keeping myself. I got a job at the Castaneda to make ends meet because art's not always a lucrative field. Ultimately, being there, the fires happened, the Calf Canyon Hermit's Peak fire. As you guys probably all know, the Castaneda was elemental in offering food to people who were misplaced during fire. And being a bartender there, really the only bartender, I received quite a few other actually devastating stories. Touched my heart. It got me a crash course in the people here, the rhythm, the conversation, the desperation, and the hope. That's my field.
Chad,
So-
if just a rule of decorum, if you could just address the council.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I know.
Yeah, thank you.
It's your good manners,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you.
That's my nature. All right, so with that, I'm going to talk here about the program, or what I have suggested as a project. Ultimately, I've made works like this in the past. I want to do something that symbolizes the hope, the rise for people from the difficult situation of fire. Ultimately, the adversity, all that is going on here. I want to see something that makes people see hope. I want to make something that makes people see that there's a way for the future and strength and community. This is my role, as I see it, as an artist, to create conversation in that way. I didn't expect to do something like that here, but the Calf Canyon Hermit's Peak fire drew my attention otherwise. The promotion of the idea of the piece, forgive me, I'll fumble over my words, but 18-foot tall sculpture. I want this to be absolutely about the phoenix. Ultimately, it's a Native American symbol talking about rejuvenation of life. It's a metaphor. Nothing in the world literally lives this way, but the people seem to find a way. We tend to find a way to rise back up. It's a perfect symbol for the experience that we've gone through here. In this project is the table of contents. Ultimately, I'll be going through it, and there's not so many, so I'm going to move on to the project description. Working through a few times on these sentences. Simply put, it's an 18-foot sculpted phoenix using nylon, metal, wood, color, and light, that being LED elements to it, dedicated to the people of northern New Mexico after rising from adversity after the Calf Canyon Hermit's Peak fires. That's it in a nutshell. The project is intended to invigorate the spirit of the community of Las Vegas and the surrounding areas, setting our sights on growth, newness, and our shared resolve towards a bright horizon. I'm a praying person. I intend on making this strong within the piece, and every time I do this, it does exist that way. Ultimately, I want to make this piece bring people together on that same perspective. Relevant experience. So 18 feet tall is tall, but my third tallest sculpture was 37 feet tall, and that was in the government center of Las Vegas, stood there motionless for 2 months. I have engineering in my background. I have art and philosophy. I imbue all of my work with the thinking in those ways. There were thousands of people who walked around this sculpture every day, and 37 feet tall. It was something. It was made of paper and wood. The next image shows a more detailed image of that spire, which is the agave's center spire upon its death. This was during the 2008 recession. For some reason, people of Las Vegas, Nevada felt like it was going to be the end. And so I reminded them that the death cycle within nature honestly usually brings upon more life. So this is an obvious relevant sculpture to reference for this piece. The fabrication, this is more to show you the levels of materials I can work with. That last one's wood and paper. This one is obviously all metal. I made a model and we upscaled it into a fully functional, human crankable. Video is next, actually, I think. If you want to see if you play that. Sounds like a train car. I love the old like trolley train cars when it goes. But this took half a year to create. The wrapping next is there's the sculpture of a full-size Doberman. This piece, it's more or less how I will handle the materials on this. It being its size, one of the things I'll need to account for is air as it's passing through. It also allows to let you see the sculptural build of the piece. My work is quite unique in how I make this. It has references to 3D animation, obviously, but ultimately it's a hand build. I tend to work everything by hand. So this will show you how I'd wrap material on this. A common way that people want to understand how this works is during the 1930s when they made planes, they would make them out of wood and they would wrap material around them. It's a similar context when I need to get more span, ultimately. The articulated sculpture next. is just basically how I will craft the head and the feet, the feet of the Phoenix. Ultimately, it's a higher detail. When we look at art, we tend to look at the head and the feet a lot, rewardably so. Ultimately, my goal would be to have the feet and the head articulated quite well through a casting process, and then attached to the wood in its build. The red panda shows a bit how I would intend on painting such materials, but also a little bit more diversity of how I approach the sculpture itself in paint. Ultimately, the project scope shows the materials. Ultimately, if you had questions, I'd love to go into it, but due to time, I'm going to just pass through this. The next is the way that this could look. Ultimately, you'll know that this is the plaza. It is my goal, it would be my desire, my hope, and my dream to put it in the plaza for one simple reason. It is the heart of the city. If I was to call upon a place for everyone to gather and speak to them, this is the place. So it is the logical place to speak to the people and to the heart of the people. I also intend on this piece being a temporary piece, so as far as any vetting or any family bloodlines or any concern like that in the public, I think only 1 year tenure of a piece in this place, then moving somewhere else. Ultimately, to have possibly a final home somewhere else, but ultimately I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that that space seems to have a lot of history that people are worried about. This is my initiation of the government's awareness of the project and conversation as to place. But I'm not dedicated to one. I'm just so far sticking with the dream of the place. Project timeline. I've already had to adjust one, so I've raised $3,500. I have a Kickstarter that's on the website. The website here. It's called Fractured Atlas. It's an art context fundraising website. Ultimately, getting the materials and then raising the funds have to kind of go hand in hand. I'm looking to hopefully get this funded entirely as far as materials and moving on even to some of my time. As the more this gets laborious, the more I have to dedicate my time to it, and I won't be able to get my job. So that is a part of the projection here. Ultimately, I would like to have it up by August. I think that if this can all move into a faster pace, that August is doable. I originally wanted to have it up on May 2nd, the darkest day of the fires, by my vision, when the town was shrouded in smoke. A very scary day with a lot of evacuations. It's my tendency to treat this as a story and in a spiritual context, looking at the darkness of it all. I really want to have this up on a timeline that's meaningful to the way this fire is going. So ultimately, August is when the fire is out, and that is my aim for this time within a year's context. There's one more picture after the project completion to give you a side view. And as these images have gone by, and as you've seen in these binders, you see a front view, a side view, and more of a three-dimensional view of the head. The reason I did the head is it gives you more of a context how the pieces might look. They're very geometric. This is an ancient reference as well as a contemporary reference within art. And lastly, my product material breakdown. I'm at this point have made enough stuff where this is pretty close to how it's going to cost. My nature is, if the money doesn't come in, I'm going to pay for it myself. It's just I'm the kind of person that sees things through. So ultimately, I'm here to present this to you guys today, so you know about it, to get input for you and go through the process of you guys telling me where I can put this, what you think, and how we agree upon it. I ultimately just have been touched deeply. I've never felt, I'm not even crying because I'm that kind of person. I've never felt at home in a place before in my life. This, I feel like, is my home. And it's my first time in my life. I've just turned 50. So I'm excited to do something that's going to help. And I know this will. Once again, excuse me. I'm almost done here. This is dedicated to the people of northern New Mexico and the rise from adversity. Tourism is something to bring in here in a matter of scope and perspective. If this is placed and supported and it's in the plaza, a minor number would be 10,000 visitors here. If they all spent $100 each, it's $1 million to the economy. And I'm not looking for funding from you guys. I'm just looking for advisement and hopefully finding a way to make this so. I will take care of that. I have people already that are lined up upon more of where this is going to go and how this is going to go, ready to give money. I don't need to parse that out too much. Lastly, this is a major artistic response to the Calf Canyon Hermit's Peaks fires, and this is something that ultimately helps heal. Art does do that with people, and it's another reason to go ahead and embrace such an idea. This piece would keep media's attention on the culture here and all of northern Mexico, garnering attention in that way on even a national level. We'll continue to have money flowing here and be able to continue to improve what's going on. It's just a way to kind of keep the conversation going. And as far as arts in public places, which I was speaking to Louis about, this is a kind of a flagship concept that upon its viewing place and moving it around to the public around the city would be one of the first major initiations in art in public places. That's what I have. Thank you.
And so, Mr. Brown, you were more concerned about how we felt about it being in the plaza, and it's a temporary location.
Yes.
So you don't intend to plant it in the ground and keep it there forever?
No.
But that it would live there for some time, and then it would be moved to a more permanent foundation?
Yes, in my experience, this will tend to create a big conversation, and those places will be illuminated way before it happens. But starting with the initiation of it there, having its large amount, highest degrees of success, and then yes, moving elsewhere.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Can I ask
Barbara? Yeah.
a question? Mr. Brown, which parts of the Phoenix will be wood and which parts will be metal?
So the metal at this point will be very minimal. The metal will be more for joining the wood. I use a steaming technique to shape the wood, so it's largely going to be the bones of the bird as a way to think it in wood, and then there's skinning in nylon, kite materials that can handle wind and solar.
Because I would be concerned about if the wood is on those pieces that are thinner than like the wing of the Phoenix, those may not withstand large crowds, like for the 4th of July. People are crowding around everything, and little kids playing and throwing fireworks and stuff. I wouldn't want to see it damaged in any way. And also with bad weather, if we get a lot of rain like we did this last year, the wood would, just soak that right up. So
it'll be sealant on the wood.
Okay.
And as far as rain goes, this nylon it'll come off. And I obviously have budgeted and would intend on repairing any damage. The pieces are built more for probably interior exposure, but the shift has been made to handle exterior. Any concepts of wind, there would be heavy anchoring that are already designed 3 different times. And there's also other plans for in case, let's say, a twisting or torsion of wind. I have ideas in mind, and I want to go through the process and see what other people have to say, but I have ideas.
Okay. The fact that you would like it moved around, I think is it's appealing to me, because the plaza is more historic in nature, but the whole area around the plaza and Bridge Street is a art district. But we do have the Riverwalk, where I think it would be wonderful. It would fit right in with the work that has been done there already, so that after it gets an initiation, maybe on the plaza, where people can see it, know that it's here, and then when it, after a certain time period, it gets moved, it could be moved to the Riverwalk, where more people could see it. I think that would attract more people to the Riverwalk, which is a really nice area for people to be also.
It's one of the places of conversation.
Just
Absolutely.
my thoughts.
I also thought of the Safeway parking lot where those
That
art
would be
pieces
good
are.
too,
Yeah.
And something I'd just like to say on a positive note, the idea of people walking up on it, the wooden pieces at the bottom, the black pieces, are actually wood that has been taken from the fire. So all the work that's been gathering, the burnt wood, the burnt timber, most of those people I'm in contact with names of those individuals with those people who've also supported me financially, want to give me wood. So partially the groundwork of that can be creating that as a barrier so people don't walk upon it this easy. It's a good point. Especially, I planned on it when I was a kid.
Mr. Ulibarri?
Mr. Brown, it's a beautiful piece. I think and if you put it anywhere in town, we're going to get a lot of traction in there. People coming into town looking at our city, our culture, and it's a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Any comments, Mr.
Romero?
I just, I too like the design and the sculpture and the symbolism that it will provide to the community, being that, you know, everything that we've been through, everything you explained. I too am with Councilor Casey. I don't think that fits within the plaza, but I know they'll laugh at me because I always pick on Crestone Park, but anything higher that, you know, put it on the top of the Crestone and, you know, of course, I'm being selfish, but what I picture around that is a splash fountain area. You know, somewhere where, you know, it's very, you know, a lot of pictures can be taken and just showing off the beauty of that piece. And I truly believe the tourism, you know, those that were affected, those that came to our aid at that time, you know, we had people from all over the state, all over the country, and that just a symbolism of everything that we've been through. And thank you for your work and for your ideas. I know it's not work yet, but I mean, you started, but
Yes.
I mean, just a vision that you had in that and a symbolism of what that's going to represent. And I'm totally for it. And I'm going to say this. I said, I think we should kind of help out in funding that. I know it'll be a little difficult for us, but I know there's an organization that might be able to, you know, use it through there, and maybe they could apply for funds, but I'm in total support of that.
Is it something that would maybe qualify for a lodger's tax if it's related to tourism?
It possibly would, Mayor, but we'd still have to go through the procurement process on it. Yeah. What I can say that is, the fundraising platform that you're using right now, we could definitely start broadcasting that on our social media and websites, for the time being.
Sure. Okay.
Well, this is very exciting, and I've been talking with Mr. Brown for quite some time about this project, and so welcome to Las Vegas, and we welcome your art for sure. If you didn't know where Crestone Park is, it's actually the highest point in the city. So it's way up on a hill. So it would overlook the city.
I find the way these things work, especially since the conversation was there beforehand about the park, right? Sometimes this is how things flow. I'm open to the conversation and appreciate the input.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, and good luck, and we'll keep talking. All right. Thank you so much. Here's your tablet.
Thank you.
Do you want these back in case you need them for another?
Yeah, I think so, but I was
Yeah.
gonna give you each a business card. It has the information on there, and contact.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. You can do that, huh?
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Mayor, next order is approval of minutes for December 8th, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the minutes for December 8th, 2022 with very minor corrections that I sent in.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Libarri. Roll call, please.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Livari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Livari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next order of business are our business items. Item number 1, request approval of easement agreement between the City of Las Vegas and the estate of Rosalia V. Crispin, real property commonly known as 1022 Tilden Street. We have our city manager, Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Maestas, thank you.
Mayor and councilors, September of last year, council did approve an encroachment agreement on this same property. That agreement was submitted to the title company, and it was not sufficient for their documentation for the transaction of the property, so they've asked us to change it to an encroachment easement, and that's what's before you today.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the easement agreement.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Councilor Livari?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Romero, a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Crispin, for being here.
Moving on to item number 2, request approval to appoint Tasha Ray Martinez as the Finance Director. We have our City Manager, Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Maestas, thank you.
Mayor and Councilor, Ms. Tasha Martinez comes to us with over 11 years of local government finance experience at the county level. And she's also very familiar with our Tyler system, which the city has currently uses for its financial transactions. So I bring forth Ms. Tasha Martinez for Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero.
Mr. City Manager, can you just go through the process, the hiring process and your recommendation to us? Was there interviews? How many applicants? Can you go over that?
Yes, the process normally with the City of Las Vegas obviously is we have applicants, we contact the applicants and we put together an interview committee panel, and we have interviewed Ms. Martinez. Obviously, she came highly regarded from our interview panel, which consisted of 3 directors with the City of Las Vegas, including our Deputy City Manager. I don't believe there was any others that we have had recently. We had another, but they rejected, or they retracted their application. And we've had this, I believe, posted for close to a year.
So you said directors. Was there somebody from finance represented on that committee?
Not on this interview committee, no, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to enter personnel, executive session for personnel reasons, to conduct some questions to Ms. Tasha Martinez.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor to go into executive session. Second, please. Second by Ms. Casey. All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Please vacate the gallery, and we will be with you shortly.
Right, so they don't see us talking.
Be quiet.
Sign language. Okay.